I'm going to show you how to double your FPS in Star Citizen, but first we're going to do some testing on the most graphically intense areas of the game, so you can see the difference for yourself. Before we get started, feel free to leave your own advice in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe if this helped you out. You should know that Star Citizen is a very CPU intensive game and requires at least 32 meg RAM to run properly. But if you've got both of those sorted, got a decent GPU and you're still getting low frames per second, this quick guide will help you. Now, this is the easiest way to increase your FPS in Star Citizen without spending a dime. I'll keep this video as short and simple as possible. One more thing I want to mention is that you'll always get the upgrade your PC comments in chat from little rich kids who never worked a day in their lives, so ignore those people. Of course, upgrading your PC is the best way to increase your frames per second, but not all of us can afford this luxury. Also, keep in mind that Star Citizen is still in alpha phase, and the majority of this alpha stage is bug fixing, testing new features and server meshing, not CPU and GPU optimization so much. So even though it might run like garbage for some of you, know that server and FPS optimization typically happens in the beta stages of game production, so it will definitely improve at a later stage. But like all things Star Citizen, we just have to be patient and look for some workarounds in the meantime. First thing you want to do is hit the tilde key to bring up the developer console. Now enter r_display_info equals 2. You can also use display info 1 or 3 depending on what you want to see, but I prefer 2 because it shows me all I need to know, including my FPS as well as server FPS, which is what this video is all about. Right, so here we are at Lorville on Hurston, the planet notoriously known for massive frame drops and making computers cry. I'm running an Intel 11th Gen 11900K CPU with 32 meg RAM and an RTX 3080. I'll also share my recommendations for the lower end computers using an i7 4790 CPU with 16 meg RAM and a GTX 1080. As you can see, I'm starting out with maximum graphics using a 2K monitor. My average frames per second on Lorville during testing on the highest graphics is around 30 frames per second. And here's what I get on the lowest settings, which is not much higher, just between 30 to 35 frames per second. But which settings make the biggest difference? Let's go to Area 18 or ARCOP during a very cloudy day. As you can see, the clouds impact performance in a big way. Here my average FPS on the highest settings is around 25 to 40 frames per second. However, this time I'm going to show you that you don't need to switch everything to low to get good frame rates. Before I reveal the two settings that make the biggest differences in frames per second, let's head to New Babbage Microtech. Watch my FPS increase as I change just two settings, while I still keep the game looking amazing. So the first thing everyone will recommend is turning off planetary volumetric clouds. But as you can see, there is very little difference between switching it off completely and high settings. At least on the 3080, the biggest performance improvement here happens between high and very high. If you have a lower end PC, you can try the low settings or switching it off completely if you're still getting lower frame rates. On the 1080, I also set most of the other graphics to medium. If none of this works, you might have to save for some more RAM. If you already have 32 meg RAM, you really don't need more than that. So ignore anyone that tells you, oh, you need at least 64, because that's just not true. Anyway, that's it. If you have any other advice, please leave it in the comments and you might help someone else, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.